All right, welcome everybody to another what we call the pandemic update. And we know it's been hard times for a few months now. This has been going on really, well, I say, going on the third month dealing with this virus, going worldwide, affecting people all over. But we know what the Bible say that in the last days all kind of problems is going to come about. The Lord said in Matthew 24 there would be famines, pestilence. Matthew 24 verse 7 actually. Famines, pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places. So this virus, disease floating around, that's nothing but a pestilence. And it's not the first, and unfortunately it won't be the last. But we're here today. I got some esteemed gentlemen with me, some of the next generation, I say, and we're gonna deal with a little more than, because all of a sudden the pandemic is kind of quiet because we got a lot of other stuff going on. So what I want to do is open up with a prayer, and I'm gonna introduce the brothers that's here with me, and then we're gonna get into it and see where we go from there. All right. Our Father which art in heaven,
Our Father which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come,
Thy kingdom come,
thy will be done in earth
thy will be done in earth,
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread,
Give us this day our daily bread,
and forgive us our debts
and forgive us our debts,
as we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation,
And lead us not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever.
forever.
In Jesus' name we pray.
In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay. So let me introduce the brothers here. They all kind of, halfway famous. This is it. They all at least Facebook famous or social media famous. So I'm gonna start to the left. It's I just noticed this just now that all these brothers got biblical names. So to the left all the way is Brother Aaron. Next to me, to my immediate left, is Brother Matthew Bocleasy. Elijah Ben, of course, most should know he's my son. To my immediate right, and far right, Perez, my youngest son. So, and they all grew up together, and what we like to focus on younger generation, because hey, as people been saying forever, hey, they the future anyway. Hey, the older we get, hey, the more they gonna be doing, and people in my generation gonna be sitting back, maybe playing general. But I'm glad to have them here. And we just got through celebrating the feast, so I want to start off with that. And that's really been it's been an ordeal to deal with the Lord's feasts and holy days during this pandemic, because again, it's serious stuff going on, and people been dying across the world. But we stuck to it because we figured you just can't do wrong doing what the Lord said do. So we did have a Pentecost. It went real well from my estimation. We were outside because of what's going on in the world, and also because of space-wise, and didn't want to cram everybody up in one venue. So we did it outside. The weather was perfect. Everything was perfect. And unbeknownst to most people there, until we got cell phones, we heard about all this other stuff. So somebody's saying my volume is low. Oh, this battery might be messing up. Yeah, it went red. Yeah. Yeah, let me I'll use. Okay. Yeah, you got the speaker on too. So anyway, we'll get a battery for that mic. So like I said, we celebrated Pentecost 2 days ago, and we had a marvelous time, and weather was perfect, and it's almost like we was in a little cocoon or oasis from everything that was going on in the world. We wouldn't have known except modern technology. Everybody got cell phone. Oh, they riding. They tell this up, right around us. Neighborhoods where people live at. Got to travel back. Some people did want to leave kind of early going to Chicago because they were worried about not being able to get home because they blocking roads and stuff like that. But other than that, we were oblivious to it, and everybody had a great time. And that just show you, a little bit of the power of the Lord, I say, because the Lord has said in Psalm 23, he can prepare a table for you in the presence of your enemies. He can look out for you in the midst of anywhere. And that's how it really felt here during the Pentecost, not to mention the big thing that had been going on, which got, understandably got everybody scared, is this pandemic. So we weren't even just dealing with just the aftermath of George Floyd's death, which is where all this rioting come from. We're going to touch on that in a minute. But I want to read a scripture here to show you, because like I quoted earlier, Matthew 24, verse 7, where the Lord talked about, they asked him the sign of his coming and the end of the world, and he told them point blank in Matthew 24, verse 7, there was going to be all kind of disasters. You name it, famines, pestilence. That's what a virus is, disease. Earthquakes in diverse places. But then in verse 8, he went on to tell you these are the beginning of sorrows. So it's not just one event that's going to take place to usher in the end of the world. It's all kind of bad events. So that's why it's not surprising that on the heels of we dealing with this pandemic, that's been on the back burner now. That can kind of got knocked off the news because of this rioting and this stuff going on with this brother death being, murdered in the street. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. And I want to read this scripture here so somebody can read for me. This is in Zechariah, the 8th chapter. Because again, the Lord have told us everything in the Bible, brothers and sisters. He told us everything that's going to happen. And it's happening. It's happening. So behind this death of this brother, which really is, you're going to give me a mic here. I'm going to switch it in a minute. These batteries going here? Okay. I don't know what.
It's in the box.
Okay. I'm going to let.
Do it while you talk.
All right. So behind this, bear with us a second, behind this death of this brother, which is clear, some people that don't understand oppression and what we call racism, some of my people I know associate with Gentiles, they have a problem relating because you're not experiencing. So, because I heard some people say, well, he was resisting arrest. He was resisting arrest and that. Look, first of all, he was arrested. And the reason why they clear cut had to fire the policemen involved, even if you just know the law, they had to fire them. They didn't fire them because they worried about the backlash. They fired them because it's clear murder when they got them in police custody. They got them in handcuffs. If you're in handcuffs, you're in police custody. You are in police. It's like being in jail. People shouldn't die in police custody. Once you're in police custody, the police are responsible. Even if something, because you handcuffed. Somebody come up on the street, start beating up on you. You can't do nothing. The police have to stop that. They supposed to stop that. So that's why it's clear. It's a clear-cut problem. That's what even their police chief said. He said he died in police custody. They got to go, and they got to be charged because that should never happen. But again, that's nothing new for our people. That's been going on. It's just being videotaped more and being put out more, but it's been going on, and we know the reason. But I'm going to read this scripture here, and then I'm going to let the brothers get involved This again is in Zechariah the 8th chapter. And pick it up at verse 9. Elijah Ben, pick it up at verse 9, and then Matthew, you can read verse 10. But go ahead, verse 9. And this is the last days. This is what the Lord is telling us, because it's going to be one problem after another. Go ahead.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, let your hands be strong, ye that hear in these days these words by the mouth of the prophets, which are in the day that the foundation of the house of the Lord of hosts was laid.
Okay, go ahead.
That the temple might be built.
So now, notice what he said. If you read all this through, we're not trying to read the whole Bible. We're not even trying to read this whole chapter. But when you get some understanding of the Bible, you know this is pointing to the end. He's talking to us in our days right here now. He says, thus saith the Lord of hosts, let your hands be strong, ye that hear in these days these words by the mouth of the prophets. So he's talking about the last days. Those of us in the last days that's hearing the words of the mouth of the prophets that were way back then. You that hear in these days the words of the mouth of the prophets, which were in the day that the foundation of the house of the Lord of hosts was laid, that the temple might be built. So this shows you only God can do this. These words were spoken way back in ancient time, literally. And now but he told us, look, you to hear these words, because God made sure it was written down in the Bible so we can read it and understand. He's telling us to be strong. But why tell us to be strong? What is the problem? Matthew, read verse 10.
For before these days there was no hire for man, nor any hire for beast. Neither was there any peace to him that went out or came in because of the affliction. For I set all men, every one against his neighbor.
Now you see what this is talking about? Now we go from a pestilence, a pandemic, and we can't even get out the pandemic good. You know, I guess all the people riding, they probably should come up being sick, but because they all over the place. But ain't no social distancing at all. That thing went out the window. So we're in the midst of a pandemic. Now we got this other thing we're dealing with. But the Lord have foretold it. This is one of the reasons we know we're in the last days. He said, be strong. Why? Because really this chapter is really taking it to once he come back and fix everything up. But the saying is true, before things get better, they're going to get much worse. So before the goodness that the Lord is going to bring at his coming, before that come, things are going to get terrible. So he said, before these days, there was no hire for man. Look, under this pandemic, people just became unemployment overnight due to this pandemic. People, now you got more unemployment. It's just created a recession. But he's telling you, this is one of the signs that before these days, there was no hire for man, nor any hire for beast. Neither was there any peace to him that went out or came in because of the affliction. Then he said, for I set every man, I set all men, every one against his neighbor. See, and this is just the beginning of this type of stuff. People fighting left and right. So this is the times we living in, brothers and sisters, but it assures us that this Bible is true. And the thing that we need to do is focus on doing God's will. Just like Sunday when all the matters were going on, we were celebrating Pentecost. If everybody understood Pentecost, everybody would have been having a good time, celebrating the Lord, feeling good. We wouldn't have had all that mess going on. But don't nobody know. So right now, we don't really have no script or anything. I'm going to turn it over to Brother Matthew to my left and see what he had to say. He came, made it to the feast, and he grew up in the Word. He know about these things, and we just gonna talk about it. Let him talk about it.
For me, my experience with the feast was amazing. Like I said, I also attend the Israel of God in Riverdale, so that church is closed. So I was with my family for pretty much the first half of the day, and we did book, feasted together. Had a couple of drinks, and it was just, it was a good time, especially in the midst of all of this evil that's going on. And we just read about, our neighbors being against each other, and now, We went from this whole thing with, the death of George Floyd to people looting and doing other stuff, and now apparently it's the Mexican community versus the black community now.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? This is just taking so many turns. So it was just good to have a breather in the midst of all of that was going on. So it was a good time for me.
Praise the Lord. I'm going to go back this way. We're going to bounce around. I know the age of these young men, so I think he's the second oldest. I'm guessing.
Yeah. Actually,
but
I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah, just kind of like piggybacking on what you said at the very end. One thing I noticed that over all this stuff that's going on, whether it's the pandemic, whether it's this George Floyd situation, which is all just tough situations, the main thing that's plaguing the black community is, like you said, we just don't know. We just don't know what to do. We don't know what to do when it comes to the pandemic. Should we wear masks? Should I wash my hands every 2 seconds? Should I do this? Should I do that? When it comes to George Floyd and the police brutality, we don't know. Do we march in the streets? Should we turn up? Should we, loot? We just don't know what to do.
Right.
And at the end of the day, what the one thing that we fail to continue to do is the only thing that, will ultimately be the solution, which is to turn back to the Lord and to serve the Lord and to do, what the Lord said do. And I just wanted to touch on a couple scriptures, if we can.
Go ahead.
If we can just turn to Hosea 4. Hosea 4. And this has been the thing, not even just, black people, which is Israel, people of the Bible, but just the whole world as a whole.
Right.
And it's just, it just really just boils down to understanding what's going on. So Hosea 4 and verse 6, Ferez, can you?
Yeah, I got you. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
And that's what it is, right? We're destroyed out here. Like we're getting destroyed by the pestilence, by the plagues, by the COVID-19.
Right.
We got high blood pressure.
Right.
We got diabetes. We just getting destroyed. We in jail.
Right.
We getting stumped out by the police in the streets. We destroyed, and it's all due to a lack of knowledge.
That's what it say.
We have to understand, like, why is this coming about? Keep going, Fred.
Because thou hast rejected knowledge,
We have rejected knowledge. Go ahead.
I will also reject thee,
And that's what he's doing. Go ahead.
that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children.
And that's what it kind of just boils down to. He says, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I scrolled down my timeline. We got Blackout, supposed to be Blackout Tuesday. Everybody's posting black posts, black screens on my Instagram.
Oh, wow.
Right? And I guess that's supposed to do something.
Is that today?
That's today.
Oh,
Cool.
yeah.
You open up Instagram, it's a bunch of black screens.
Okay.
Right? And at the end of the day, like, I understand the sentiment.
Right.
But if we don't do this, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, we've forgotten the law. That's just really what it boils down to. We can't continue to go against God and think that, things are going to get better for us.
Because he controlled it all.
And that's it, and that's all. Real quick, if we go to Psalm 118.
Psalm 118.
Yes, sir.
Right. Yeah, that's it. We tried everything. That reminds me, while we turn to Psalm 118, it reminds me of what he said in Deuteronomy. He said, God's people, once we got cursed, which we are, some people dislike that terminology, but we curse. That's why all this stuff happening. But he said we would grope in darkness. We would be groping in, like a blind person trying to figure our way out. We don't know what to do. But go ahead.
Psalm 118, we're going to pick it up at verse 8.
118 and verse 8.
We're going to read 8 and 9.
It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man.
We need to trust the Lord. When it comes to the pandemic and this disease is going on, the Lord is in control. He's in control of everything.
Right.
We need to trust him. When it comes to police brutality, we need to trust in the Lord that he's going to do what he said he's going to do. But go ahead.
It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in princes.
And what we do is we want to turn to the white man, or we want to turn to the government. We want to turn to the Senate. We want to turn to the president, whoever it is, the police, and think that they're going to be the ones that's going to get us out of the circumstance.
Right.
But they can't. They're not getting us out of the circumstance. A lot of them, they put us in the predicament that we're in.
Right.
The only way we're going to get away from that and turn the guard is really to come back to our Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the main thing. We need to trust in the Lord, and that's something that no one seems to want to do.
Right. That's the one thing we ain't tried.
Yes, sir. And I got one more place.
Go ahead, take your time.
Psalm 32.
Psalm 32. Yeah, we can try some of everything. I thought that was ironic that George Floyd, he got killed by the brother. That's one of the tactics the police use, by the way, especially in Minneapolis, putting a knee on his neck like that.
Right.
He got killed that way, but we had, one of the athletes trying to address that same problem by taking a knee.
Right.
That's great. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so that just show you where that didn't work. He meant well. He lost his job. He sacrificed for that cap.
Most definitely.
But we still got the problem. We got to get to the solution. But go ahead.
We're going to go to Psalm 32. We're going to pick it up at verse 5. Psalm 32 and verse 5. And this is what it boils down to. This is what we need to get back to. And this is what we don't want to do, but this is what's going to really, really help us out in the long run. Pick it up at verse 5.
I acknowledge my sin unto thee, and mine iniquity have I not hid.
Okay. He said, I acknowledge my sin unto thee, and mine iniquity have I not hid.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even want to acknowledge that there's a law. So how can we acknowledge that
Right.
we're in sin?
Right. That's
You get what I'm saying? But this is very pivotal. Keep going.
I said, I will confess my transgressions unto the Lord.
I have acknowledged that I'm doing wrong, and I am going to confess my transgressions unto the Lord. Keep going.
And thou forgavest the iniquity of my sin. Selah.
And that's the thing. The Lord will forgive you.
Right.
He will forgive you if you acknowledge what you have done wrong, but you can't keep going on and on acting like you have never done anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Israel has done from the beginning of time. We have, we was given great responsibility, and we've dropped the ball. You know what I'm saying? We have yet to really turn back and to confess that we have dropped the ball and do what we're supposed to do. But keep going.
For this shall every one that is godly pray unto thee in the time when thou mayest be found.
And we need to pray while he may be found, because that must mean he may not be found forever. Go ahead.
Surely in the floods of great waters they shall not come nigh unto him.
Keep going.
Thou art my hiding place. Thou shalt preserve me from trouble.
Okay, and I wanted to get to this. This is the main point when it comes to the Pentecost. Like, this legitimately how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
He said, thou art my hiding place.
Mm-hmm.
Thou shalt preserve me from trouble.
Right.
And there's literally, we going through church. I was at the church at 8 o'clock in the morning, getting ready for the church, trying to get everything, up and running. And then the feast was remarkable, a great time. And it was almost, I want to say after the feast, I didn't even know, I think Aaron came to me, he was like, bro, you know what they doing in Calumet City?
Mm-hmm.
They tearing down. I'm like, are they? Like, I'm having a great time. But that's what he's saying is like, we doing what we supposed to be doing. We're trying to seek the Lord. Thou art my hiding place. I guess he had us in hiding.
Right.
Thou shalt preserve me from trouble. Keep going.
Thou shalt compass me about with songs of deliverance. Selah.
And that's what it was.
That's what it was. Yes, sir.
I felt delivered.
Hit it right on the head.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, that was it on that note.
Yeah, that's
All right, we're going to bring Brother Aaron in since he had the news updates on the Pentecost.
Yeah, it wasn't meant for me to have. Like, I wasn't planning on having the updates.
We all got phones. Some people phone binging. Bing.
It was crazy.
That's what my wife said.
It was
my
crazy.
phone was binging.
Yeah, but the day of the Pentecost, like, I came up here and like tried to help out and do the little bit I could, and then I was gonna have Kaya bring Kobe up here later on, and I had realized I had the car seat in my car.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm, trying to figure out what she's gonna do and everything, I get a call from my mom, like, yeah, like it's going up in Cal City right now. Like, where are you at? I'm like, I'm at church. Like, like it turned out perfect. It turned out perfect. It was so many. I got so many emotions that like I'm still trying to find the words to really express how I feel that I haven't expressed anything on social media or anything like that. Like that Blackout Tuesday thing, I understand the sentiment like Eli said, but like I don't even think that's the answer. I don't think that's the answer, and it's crazy. Like the fact that Kobe got to play at the park since he been born. He only 10 years old. He got to play at the park for the first time all year. And it was in the midst of destruction all around us, and it was just nuts. And I was having a good time, and it was just crazy to see how I was just in that area not literally 2 hours ago, and to go back and see all of the destruction they did, it was crazy. And then like going to work and actually having to drive throughout the city and everything, and just seeing police officers everywhere, seeing hundreds of stores boarded up, glass broken out,
Just
closed
the
down.
The aftermath.
And I understand it's like, as a people, we tired.
Yeah.
And we tired of being done wrong. But like, I didn't think that was the answer, because today everybody hitting each other up trying to find out where to get food and baby formula and things like that. And it's just like, and another thing is like, okay, yeah, that's all going on in the black communities. Now, with my job, I got to be in nice neighborhoods, like in Naperville, it look like a regular day.
Right.
People walking around, people riding bikes in Naperville.
Wow.
While it's people in the inner city trying to find a store open. All the stores is open in Naperville.
Wow.
All the stores is open in Indiana, in the region of Indiana. Like Maryville, it's a normal day outside of where it's not predominantly black. And that has me feeling some type of way.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm just at a loss for words. I haven't spoken on the George Floyd situation. I honestly kind of felt desensitized to it, and I didn't think society would get to the point that it's at now.
Yeah.
I thought it would blow over like everything else, and maybe that's me being ignorant, but like it's been happening so many times, like I literally became desensitized to it. Like I didn't even watch the George Floyd video. I didn't watch it at all.
Yeah.
I ain't watched it either.
I watched it late. It took a while to watch it.
I still haven't seen it. I'm not trying to see it because I just don't want to see that.
Yeah.
And it's also ironic that it's honestly the way I feel towards white people right now. I'm still trying to conduct myself as a model citizen, but it's like a slap in the face to see that Colin Kaepernick kneeled for that, and then they killed somebody in that same position. That's kind of wild to me. I'm scared for my son. I'm not entirely scared for myself, but like everybody is just freaking out right now, and I don't have the answer. I don't know. The only thing I can say is turn to God, because while everything was going crazy, I had a blast Sunday.
That's the answer right there.
Yes, that's truly the answer. And like we were saying, it really did feel like we were, the very definition of sanctified, which is like set apart, So while all the turmoil was going on, like we were saying, like, we was cool, we was chilling, we was praising our God, praising our Lord, and he was clearly there with us during that time. But it's like, it's just at the end of the day, we keep on trying the same solutions. We been protesting,
right? We
been rioting. Right. This ain't nothing new. And we gonna keep on doing that, and I don't see why we keep on doing the same thing, expecting a different solution, expecting a different outcome of that. So that's just my thing. And then I know we mentioned the Blackout Tuesday thing and stuff like that, and it's like, that's cool to show like, solidarity and things of that nature, but I think the end goal should be we have to be trying to get to the root of the problem. Yeah. Once you get to the foundation, if you ignore the foundation of anything, everything else is going to be shaky. Right. If you talk about a house, if you talk like literally anything, if you don't get to the foundation, the root of what the issue is, it's going to always be turmoil. So when we never looking for the root and we keep on doing these quick little things, I'm going to just break this building down, I'm going to set this on fire because I'm angry. I understand because I'm angry too. I've been angry my whole life. I've been angry. So I understand being angry, but we got to use our minds and what's actually, and be open to different solutions. People want to pass the Bible off as a fairy tale and all that. Man, our whole being is a fairy tale. If you think like just the essence of the world coming about, you can't even imagine that
Right.
as a as a human being, us just being here, the beginning of the world. You talk about somebody thousands of years ago telling them that we got airplanes and stuff now, they would think that that's a fairy tale.
Right.
You know, like that don't make no sense to them. So you can't really just sit here and say that anything is possible if it's possible for, you know, us to be here and be able to reproduce, and you know what I'm saying, like it's lined up too perfectly for it to just all be a coincidence. So I think people just need to be open to other solutions, and instead of trying to beat a dead horse over the same thing.
That's why I like that Black Tuesday, or not Black Tuesday. Or is that what it's called? Blackout
Tuesday.
Yeah, that's why I like the Blackout Tuesday thing. Specifically because it's something different than from like rioting and just tearing stuff up. That's just emotional acting. And I was raised not to ever let your emotions be, your guide, like because it'll send you down a rough patch, which as we're going through now. People out there being emotional instead of being logical, and thinking their way through this thing. So I'll take a Blackout Tuesday. Just so it can draw some attention to something other than rioting, because I do feel like the powers that be it white people, whoever, whatever you want to point the finger at, I feel like us rioting and tearing up our community pretty much is pretty much just giving them an excuse to continue to do what they do. Like we gotta not react and just be proactive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's always wise to plan something, so at least some of the stuff that's planned. I had heard of a plan to have a boycott of shopping. Somebody threw that out there.
Yeah,
boycott, like don't shop, don't buy nothing on one day.
Like the 7th.
Yeah, I think T.I. might have said that.
Yeah, I heard of that, and all that sound good. But at the end of the day, is that going to solve the problem? That might make people stand and look at the problem. It definitely do that. But then you're going to still need to go buy something the next day. You're probably going to spend twice as much money. Because you missed the day. So our thing is getting, like Fared said, getting to the root of the problem. What's the root of the problem? But and I didn't really hear this till y'all got here today. Aaron had brought it up. He was in Naperville, which people might not know that's not from around here. We in Indiana, Northwest Indiana, we right on the border of Illinois, though, and the Chicago suburbs, so it's all run together. It's all one big area, and Naperville is a southwest Chicago suburb, northern suburb of Chicago. So it's upclass. I've known people lived over there. Know somebody live in Naperville right now. So he mentioned that. Also, he mentioned being in Chicago. That's what I wanted to ask you, because you said, I think Matthew mentioned too, about, Mexicans doing something. There's been an issue going on. Yeah. So what's up with that? Either one of y'all.
Well, I mean, just from circulating circles and everything, I've just been hearing, like, the looting that's been taking place in downtown Chicago is spilling over into Humboldt Park and Little Village. And if you from Chicago, everyone knows that's a real heavy Mexican neighborhood. It's pretty much like their own little part of Mexico in the middle of Chicago. And growing up, I've been told to always stay away from that area. And it's been times where I mistakenly been in that area not knowing and everything, but the fact that it's spilling over, like the Mexican gangs are protecting their neighborhood. Something that a typical gang would do, you know? So it's like, now it's becoming this whole race war, and I think it's a little overhyped because of how social media works. Like, they're just overhyping it, and it's causing tension throughout the city. I was over there earlier trying to do my job, and the Mexicans that work at the place I was going to, they turned me around. They told me no. They told me...
You was making a delivery?
I was dropping off a container.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I was just like returning the container back to where it's supposed to go, and they was like, "Nah, you got to take it somewhere else."
Right.
I heard they've been attacking people and all type of stuff. It's not fact from what I hear. It's just hearsay, but apparently, I guess like you said, it started out as like I think the Latin Kings protecting like whatever they got.
Area
You know,
they in that part of Chicago.
and then it turned from that to them like attacking black people and targeting black people. I guess is the thing now.
Yeah.
And I'm out in Little Village every day. Like I work out there, 26 and Cal, so I'm like right in the thick of it. So I was blessed. I ain't had no encounter like you did today. But my eyes are definitely wide open.
Right.
For sure.
You know.
Yeah, I know the area well. I used to drive a truck in those areas. But really, like you said, it makes sense that at least, they evidently trying to stop looting or whatever.
Right.
If they being more aggressive than that, that's a problem. But it makes sense to try to, do what you can to protect what belonged to you.
Yeah.
And that goes, that come back to us,
We destroying what belonged to us. We destroying black-owned companies.
Right.
It got to a point where it's not even about, justice no more. We just trying to steal some stuff.
Right.
I'm supposed to be doing a video shoot later on today. I can't even do it because they done looted out the entire place and it's police everywhere. Like,
Crazy.
you know what I'm saying? Like, you being counterproductive at this point.
Right.
People just trying to get ahead, take advantage.
I haven't even heard the man's name in like 2 days. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, they go to
it's
show you when you react, like you said.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
it's crazy the fact that it's happening during a pandemic as well.
Right.
So if you out there, this is my first time ever experiencing a riot throughout the country. Like, I've only read about it growing up.
Right.
So to actually see it, it's really eye-opening. But at the same time, it's in the middle of a pandemic where everybody's supposed to be wearing a mask. So it's like you can't even identify who's doing what.
Right.
I've been hearing that there are all type of races out there looting. It's not just black people.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same
for sure.
time, everybody's masked up because of the pandemic, and it's like I can't even tell who really out there. Like, is it really black people out there, or is it like
And
masked
that-
other
Matthew
people?
said something. Yeah, he said that, he thought it'd blow over, but it's going on and on and on, and that's mainly because it's affected a lot more than black people.
Right.
That's why it's still carrying on, because
Exactly.
it's a lot of white people pissed off about that, because it was
is.
blatant.
I'm pretty sure.
Right.
So, like, I saw in the news, I saw that in D.C. yesterday, Trump, he moved the people, he had the police, the Secret Service police and the National Guard, he had them literally move the protesters out this park so he could walk through there. He was doing some political thing, and he wanted to just walk through the park. And he was next to by the White House, and he had them move them. But, all those people he was moving, mainly at the front line, there was some blacks there. I saw mainly white people. Yeah. And he forcibly had them tear gas and, started shooting rubber bullets to move them. They wasn't even destroyed. This doing it broad daylight.
Yeah.
They wasn't doing nothing with the curfew wasn't set in. He moved them so he can walk through, and he walked through like a G. He walked through like a G.
Teflon down.
That's what he. But I think he had felt some kind of way because they reported that he ran and hid in a bunker when something happened the first time. So I think he wanted to. I think and he supposedly got on the governor saying they look like punks. So, but anyway, yeah, it's crazy. It's a sign of the times.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how like I never thought like by being cooped up in the house for the last 2 months that when everything finally started open back up, it was gonna be pure chaos, and that's exactly what it looked like.
And I think that plays a role.
I think they got
well.
something to do. Me too.
Like how we all been cooped up in the house, people ready to get out the house. And
Right.
Also, like you mentioned, unemployment is through the roof.
Right.
And I do feel like people are taking advantage of. I can't really say taking advantage. It's like it's a tough situation on everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
We out there, there's things to get got, and I need to feed my kids. I seen a video earlier in the city. It was a lady. It was on World Star, black lady, and she went into Jewels or something like that.
Yeah.
And just kind of touching on y'all points about how like, man, we literally destroyed our own neighborhood. She going in there trying to find formula for her babies and trying to find food for her babies, and it's destroyed. Like it's nothing.
Yeah.
She kept saying she was like, I feel like a rat just trying to like scrounge through stuff on the ground trying to find stuff. And
Wow.
I feel like it's sad, but like you said, it's time. It's signs of the time. This is what happens when, people get oppressed for so long, and that was kind of like my main point. Like, it's understandable. Like for us, it's understandable. We've been going through it for a long time now, but ultimately, and that's what I mentioned. Like, we don't know. We don't know that the Lord is going to come back and handle this and deal with this stuff.
Right.
And in the meantime, in between time, I just pray that everybody, just can have a sound mind when it comes to this stuff, because this stuff is doing a lot on people mental.
Yeah,
acting out of whack.
It's doing a lot.
How y'all feel? Okay, so after this whole situation blows over and all that, or whatever, justice is served, Lord willing, or whatever the case happens, and everything settles down. If the numbers on this coronavirus do not inflate, how does that make y'all feel?
That's a good point.
I'm telling you, man, because people talk about 6 feet.
Everybody should get it.
About 100.
Everybody.
Protesting right next to each other. This is crazy.
Well,
That's what I've been thinking about.
Yeah, it is. And it's been pandemics in the past, and this is definitely not the worst. It's just the worst, worst hyped. And it's maybe the worst since in our lifetime. I don't even know that. But, I mean, you look at the numbers. Right now, they say it's killed, I don't know, a few worldwide. I think it may be a few million, if that. Nah, because America just got 100,000.
100,000, I think.
Yeah, so it ain't even a million yet. It might be half a million. But, I mean, the Spanish flu killed 50 million people in around 1918. 50 million people. And the world wasn't as populous as it is now. And it killed 50 million people. And you look at some of the clips, they was doing what people doing now. Everybody was wearing masks. I saw a clip of them at a college football game. Everybody's up in there watching the game, with masks on in the stands. So it's not the first time. And this one seemed to be, even though it's legit, it do seem to just be overhyped. Yeah. That people took advantage of it and, had some other agenda going on. But
I feel like the media is being very irresponsible right now. But at the same time, about the pandemic thing, I don't know. I'm hoping it's not gonna get worse. Like you said, I could see the numbers inflating just by what people are doing, and it's like they don't even care no more. It's like they don't even care no more, and it's really mind-boggling.
So yeah, my producer, he sent the number, 371,000 have died worldwide. That's all. I mean, that's a lot, but 50 million back in 1920. So that's what the worldwide number is, 370,000. Right.
That's like one city.
And like you said, it's like the media, but I also feel like technology and social media has just propagated this so much. It's like so propagated, so blown up that everybody knows about it. I feel like back in the day, it's in your face 24/7. So you would think that it was like the Spanish flu. I didn't know it was that big of a discrepancy.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I always feel like the news kind of, especially now, is competing with social media. That's why you get so many incorrect, like statistics and things like that, because they feel like they have to put something out, and if they don't put something out,
break it the fastest.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So they're gonna put out whatever, be it wrong or right, just to have a story.
Right, and then whenever something big happens, that's kind of how the news cycle goes. Cable news, they harp on that. They just harp on that. And that show you they control the narrative because we don't hear nothing about did Corona stop or what? Did it? I mean, is it over?
Right. That's not even concerning.
Yeah, nobody. The news not talking about it because something else is in the cycle.
Exactly. So was it really that important?
Yeah, exactly.
It should be curfew. They put curfews out now because of the
riots.
Right. But it should be. We shouldn't be able to riot. We shouldn't be able to protest if it's as serious as they was making it back a few weeks ago. It was as if I can't walk outside my house.
Yeah. It was really serious
now
as
you
it
see
was.
something that's really serious.
Yeah. I was like,
they blocking off cities now.
Now we for real.
Like,
stay in the house.
Right.
We for real now.
From?
Yeah, it's something. But let me read this because this what it boiled down to. especially with Israel. Everything always hit Israel worse, and that's the black people that's cursing in bondage. And it's no accident. Just like I said from the beginning of this COVID deal, COVID-19, because at the beginning they said black people couldn't get it. We immune to it. I said, don't believe it. You know, everything hit us worse. You know, not to mention that, you know, we can be discriminated by, and we already on the bottom. We got the least of everything. We got the worst of everything. We got the worst health care. We got the worst. So you already going to be vulnerable to something of this nature. But the big picture is, what about God? If God is already trying to do you in, you automatically done. You're automatically done. And that's what when we get back to the Bible, God has foretold that he would put us in situations that we would be the least of everybody. We would be on the bottom. So I'm going to read this right quick, and I want to read this in Deuteronomy 28, and anybody can pick it up for me there. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 45. The whole chapter tells you in advance that God was going to curse his people for disobedience. That's what he said. He was going to curse his people for disobedience. And he's going to reiterate it right here. He's talking to a whole nation. There's no way a whole group of people can just suffer more than anybody all the time in every situation, be it pandemic, be it police brutality. It's no way unless God is on top of that. So verse 45, 28 and 45.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. Okay, so now notice, he told you he was going to put curses on. He got specific with the curses in this chapter. We're not going to read much of it. But then he said, moreover, all these curses come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, overtake thee, till thou be destroyed. Going back to what Elijah Ben read earlier, he said, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And he mean destroyed. He don't mean totally annihilated, though. He mean destroyed as a people. A people don't know who they are, don't know where they from. And if you don't know where you're from, the old saying is true, you don't know where you're going. So that's the destroyed he meant. Matter of fact, keep your finger here. We're going to read this. I just want to point this out. One of you guys get Amos 9. Because I want to show you the destroyed he's talking about. He's talking about this people, and we're going to come back and finish this. He's talking about this people for disobedience being cursed. So we're going to look at Amos 9, then we'll come back to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. Amos 9, and just start at verse, I think we can start at verse 1. Go ahead and read that.
I saw the Lord standing upon the altar, and he said, smite the lintel of the door, that the posts may shake, and cut them in the head, all of them, and I will slay the last of them with the sword. He that fleeth of them shall not flee away, and he that escapeth of them shall not be delivered.
See, and this show you, brother and sister, the Lord do everything. If the Lord wants you dead, you're going to be dead. If he wants you cursed, you're going to be cursed. So Amos said, I saw the Lord standing upon the altar. And he said, smite the lintel of the door. In other words, he talking about drama coming. He said, smite the lintel. Talking about judgment of the door, and the post shall shake, and cut them in the head, all of them, and I will slay the last of them with the sword, and he that flee won't get away, and he that escapeth of them shall not be delivered. See, he's talking about Israel, and he gonna make it clear. Verse 2.
Though they dig into hell, then shall mine hand take them. Though they climb up to heaven, thence will I bring them down.
See, that's how tough God is. You can't get away from him. If God after you, you can't. God said, if you could do it, if you dug into hell, I'll come down there, my hand and take you. He said, if you could climb up to heaven, I'll bring you down from there. Verse 3.
And though they hide themselves in the top of the Carmel, I will search and take them out thence, And though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea, thence will I command the serpent, and he shall bite them.
Well, God is something else, boy. He said, if you go to the bottom of the sea, you hide on top of Carmel in a mountain somewhere, I will search you out and I'm going to find you. See, this is showing you how God can do whatever he wants to you when he's mad at you. He's talking about punishing his people. That's why it's no coincidence that only one group of people suffers more than everybody. Everybody go through something.
Right.
People of all races go through something. But one group of people, this black people, this cursed, suffer more than anybody. And not all blacks. It's not a black thing like people may think. So he said, look, you can go in the top of calm. I will search and take you out thence. And though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea. Lord, you know, this is how poetic God is. He said, you could be hiding. You can't really hide from God. But if you could be hiding from me in the bottom of the sea, even if I couldn't get you, I command a serpent down there to bite. There's a serpent down there. That show you God is something else. He said, this will I command the serpent, and he going to bite them. Verse 4.
And though they go into captivity before their enemies.
And this is what then happened to them. You can't go into slavery. That's captivity unless God make you. But pay attention to what God is saying. This is how deadly, why the Bible say God is a great and terrible God. Notice what he said. He said, though they go into captivity, which is slavery, before their enemies, what?
Thence will I command the sword, and it shall slay them. And I will set mine eyes upon them for evil, and not for good.
He said, though they go into captivity before their enemies, I'm going to still send the sword at them. You already in slavery in your enemy's land. Now I'm going to make sure you get killed. I'm going to send the sword, and it's going to slay you in slavery. You're not going to have, I didn't send you into slavery for you to have peace. I sent you into slavery to punish you. And this is what we got to understand. If God is not behind it, it won't happen. But now, this is what I really want to get to. Verse 8. Read verse 8.
Behold, the eyes of the Lord God are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth.
See, this is Israel. Israel, we're not even a nation no more, but we became a sinful king. He gave us the promised land, and he said the eyes of the Lord are upon the sinful kingdom. Go ahead.
And I will destroy it from off the face of the earth.
And I will destroy it from off the face of the earth. That's destroyed. Off the face of the earth, but what?
Saying that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith the Lord.
Oh, so this is what I want to point out, really. That when he say destroyed, he mean literally brought to nothing, but you still here. Right. That's the type of destruction the Lord do. See, we destroyed as a people. We don't even know who we are. We don't know where our homeland is. I used to deliver to a Polish place over there on the west side of Chicago, making deliveries. It was a Polish ink place. Matter of fact, the name of it was Inks. And all of them was Polish people in there, and they would talk Polish, talk their language sometime, and talk about the homeland sometime. Everybody got a homeland but us. You know, and I sit around and drink coffee with them. They probably think I didn't know. No, I happen to know that we got a homeland too. Everybody got to have one.
Right.
But but most other black people, they'd be, you'll be looking crazy because you don't know nothing about a homeland. But that's because of this. He said, the eyes of the Lord are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth, saving, which means except I will not utterly destroy them. In other words, I'm going to destroy you, but I'm not going to annihilate you.
Right.
I'm not going to wipe you off the map, literally. I'm going to wipe you off the map as having any power, any structure, any cohesiveness, no land, no nothing. You're going to be nothing. Now we run around, we've been Negroes, Afro-American, everything. We've been lost. Right. We destroyed as a nation. That's why we kill each other. We mad at the police, but hey, we do a good job of that too. Because we are destroyed as a people. But the good news is we still here. He couldn't wipe us out. Now let's go back to 28, Deuteronomy 28. And I'm going to read this scripture and the next one. And we're going to have some closing remarks from the brothers. 28 and read 45 again. I just want to point out what that destruction looked like, being destroyed. We destroy for lack of knowledge. That means we've been brought to nothing. We the walking dead right now. Go ahead. That's why we running around, like you said, just reacting, don't know what to do.
Right.
Because we don't have no direction. Right. Something happened now. We just gonna look this opportunity to act a fool. But that's not the way it is. That's not the way it should be handled. But go ahead.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments.
Oh, that's the reason, though. It's not because you didn't practice good economics, and people say, well, y'all didn't, you got to buy black-owned business, you got to support that. We don't support each other. Look, the bottom line, our problem come from God. We didn't obey him, and he making it happen to us. Right. He bringing the bad stuff on us. He said he going to bring all these curses on you till you destroy it, because you hearken not to the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee. Verse 46.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
See, these curses going to be upon you for a sign. Because you don't even know, you lost. We don't even know who we are no more. So you cannot really identify from the past who the true Israelites are. But except by the sign that God put on them. Because you destroyed. So how you gonna identify destroyed? you got to see that sign, that destroyed sign. We got a destroyed sign on our forehead basically. That's why people automatically dislike us just by you just walk in the room. You ain't did nothing, they don't even know you, but they know you because of what God has done. He said you're gonna be because you didn't obey. Verse 46 said, they, meaning the curses, shall be upon you for a sign and a wonder. It's how do you recognize us? And you wonder, what the heck did happen? What went wrong? They so messed up. That's why they could change. They could almost, it's really reverse psychology that in this world, or just take this nation, like the way they just killed a brother in the street, we can be looked at as like we crazy and we the animals. And everybody, got issues, but more harm has been done to us by other people than more harm than we done.
Period.
But it's been flipped over. We afraid of you. We're afraid of us. You afraid of me?
We've been slaves forever. What are you afraid of?
Yeah, we've been getting killed by you guys.
Getting murdered.
So, yeah. But that just go to show you. He said, these curses going to be upon you for a sign and a wonder, and upon your seed forever. So I got some seed here. I was born into this world, not having known nothing. Didn't figure I did nothing wrong to be born when I was born. But I was born into a cursed situation. I got sons up here. They born into this same situation. These brothers over here, same thing. Born into a cursed situation, didn't have nothing to do with it. But he said, on your seed forever, these curses going to be, and that means to the end of time. That's why nobody going to fix it till the Lord comes. But now, Deuteronomy 30, this is it. Deuteronomy 30. So even though this is the pandemic update, it's really the riot update now, because things have changed. Deuteronomy 30. Pick it up at verse 1, because we've been talking about it. We done tried all kind of solutions to get out of the predicament we in as a people, except what got us in this problem. 30 and 1.
And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither the Lord thy God has driven thee.
Whither the Lord have driven you. See, we not just in America, we cursed all over. We've been kicked out. We've been taken into captivity, like he talked about in Amos. Though you go into captivity before the enemy, I'm going to make sure you get killed over there. So we're in captivity. The Lord has driven us here, but the difference is now we are waking up, calling it to mind like, oh, okay, now I understand. And this makes a world of difference. That's why our people in the world, the brothers out there that don't have no knowledge of God, they are destroyed and just reacting, acting crazy, while we over here and wherever we at, even if you wasn't here, people that with knowledge was celebrating the day of Pentecost, ain't no way you're going to be out there stealing nothing, tearing nothing up, because you know it's time to honor God. Right. While we doing that, people with no knowledge, they doing whatever. They doing wherever somebody lead them. They following that. So, but we calling it to mind in the nations where we scattered at. We remembering that, you know, we this people. That's why this is happening. Oh, okay, I see what now. Verse 2.
And shall return unto the Lord thy God, and shall obey his voice according to all that I have commanded thee this day.
Now, once you wake up, you turn back and start obeying. That is the solution, because we read, he said, I'm going to curse you because you don't listen to me. You didn't hearken to keep my commandments and my statute. That is the problem. Only one problem, we disobey God. To make the problem better, obey God. That's it. And we're going to eventually get out of this situation as a people. But that's going to be the key. Obey God. We done march, we done ride, we done toe up, we done sat in, we done took a knee. Obey God. That's the only answer.
Simple solution.
And we got all churches and they not doing it. That's really what makes it worse.
Right.
Well, all the preachers there who've been telling people prosperity is your birthright, but you still getting stepped on in the street. Why is that? Because even the church is not telling people to keep God's law. They've been done away with it. But he said, and thou shalt return unto the Lord thy God, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day. Thou and who?
Thou and thy children.
Uh-huh.
With all thy heart and with all thy soul.
Uh-huh. Then what?
That then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity.
Oh, that's going to lead to you being taken from under this curse and this slavery and this oppression, turning back to be obedient. That then the Lord thy God will turn your captivity. That means he's going to bring you back from slavery. Because we came here as slaves, brothers. That means we had to come from somewhere, and we have to have a homeland somewhere. And we know where it is. We know we Israelites from the land of Israel. So eventually we got to go home. But God got to do a number on the whole world for that to happen. And that brings us to the second coming of Jesus. But he said that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and do what?
And have compassion upon
and have compassion, because he's merciful. We definitely need some compassion right now. George Floyd didn't get no compassion last week, did he? And he's not the only one that haven't been getting no compassion. And it's going to be more George Floyds until we figure this out. That then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee. Go ahead.
And will return and gather thee from all the nations, whither the Lord thy God hath scattered thee.
So that's it for me. That's the solution. But I'm going to let the brothers give final remarks, and we're going to wrap this up. Appreciate them coming on, joining them, taking out their busy schedule, even though, I don't know, some of us unemployed now. But
Right.
Who want to go first? You want to go first?
Yeah,
Brother Henry?
I just hope it don't take a turn for the worse. I mean, like you said, you read about the stuff that took place in our history, you know what I'm saying, back in the 60s and everything, and it's like, man, I can't believe they went through that. You don't even really think about it until you actually living through it and you seeing the destruction it's causing. So I just want everybody to be safe, stay prayed up, and just try to be the best person that you can be, no matter the situation that is presented before you.
Yeah. And like you said, before Matthew take over, we ain't seen no riot. They said there ain't been no rioting like this since 68, I think, when King died. And that's because, again, this just touched the nerve on a whole lot of people, even that's not black. It touched the nerve. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, that shit, and just to piggyback off of what you said, that should speak volumes, because, I mean, Martin Luther King was one of the most influential black figures that we've had in my lifetime.
Yes, sir.
And when he passed away, he was killed.
In your lifetime?
Yeah, well.
I'm about to check his ID. Yeah. But I know what you mean.
Well, yeah, you know.
Recent history.
But you know, he was murdered. They rioted. Tried to burn. What was it, L.A. or something like that?
All over, just like this.
They tried to burn.
Oh, it was all over.
Chicago.
Yeah, they did.
Here we are, years and years later, doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta
2020.
Yeah, pretty much. We gotta just stop putting ourselves in situations where, like I said earlier, where we're reacting to what the oppressors are doing to us.
Right.
Just focus on our own situation and what we can do to hold ourselves accountable, and just stay out of that, 100%. So I just hope everybody just be peaceful.
Yes, sir.
Take care of our community instead of tearing it down.
Take some action instead of react.
Exactly.
Be proactive, as they say. But go ahead. Son.
My main thing is just like I mentioned earlier. I understand that the situation is tough, especially for us as Israelites. But I just pray that we be patient, but then more importantly, like that we just let's give this a shot.
Right.
Let's give the Bible a shot. Like we've tried everything else.
Trump said you ain't got nothing else to lose.
You're right. You ain't got nothing else to lose. Like let's try to get back, to the scriptures.
Exactly.
And give it a try. Like what like my whole thing is people bash the Bible and people bash it as if it's something bad in here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's nothing but
right.
how you should walk your life, how to be peaceful, how to love your neighbor. If we actually did these things, we wouldn't be in the situations that we are in. So I just pray that, the Lord opens up, just more of our eyes and for us to just get back to Him. So that's just it.
Yeah, that's a good point for Perez. Wrap it up. That even believe it or not, people we got so many churches. That's one of the signs we the people of the book. All the churches we got, but we don't adhere to the Bible in church. We bash the Bible really because if you say, well, you're supposed to keep the law like we was keeping Pentecost, most churches don't even know about that. They definitely don't know about Passover and unleavened bread.
It's honestly because they don't know what's in it.
Yeah, they don't know what's in the Bible.
The so-called prophets who say they are prophets are not. They're telling you what's in it, and so
taking their word for it.
You taking their word for it.
Right.
If you actually keep it open after they done talking or whatever the case may be,
right.
and keep on reading
right.
after that one verse that they made a whole sermon about, you'll understand that verse that they talking about a little bit more clearly, and probably find some stuff out.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's the issue. But they doing away with giving this a try. Even in church, they say, well, you don't got to keep the law. So like Eli said, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with being obedient to what God is saying in the Bible? But go ahead, son.
I think just in the meantime, just everybody just be safe. Because it is wild times right now. We do have to just acknowledge that at the end of the day that, these are tough times we in, even from the, what this initially was about, the pandemic, and then also now it's a bunch of riots, and now it's, like we were saying, black versus Mexicans in the city, and it's a lot going on right now. So just be aware, be privy. I wanted to kind of jump back to wow, I don't really like the Blackout Tuesday thing. Just because there are people that's trying to organize events and trying to post it on social media and doing stuff like that, and I feel like that's kind of just cluttering people's timelines. It's just literally just black screens. I mean, for some people, they add in information and stuff like that. But in the meantime, we do have to do certain things. We even here at Israel Church of Jesus, we give out food to people and stuff like that. So people try and do that stuff now in these times where people are in need. So I think that just in the meantime could be a focus for some people if they're looking to do good things right now and want to really show solidarity and spread the word, is to try to participate in these things when you can. But also at the end of the day, there's only real one answer.
Right.
There's only real one answer.
It's
gonna come back to that at the end of the day. I seen a video earlier today or last night where it was a 45-year-old man, a 31-year-old man, and a 16-year-old young man, and all black men. I didn't see the full video. I don't know what happened prior, but I'm guessing they were there to riot or to protest or whatever. I don't know exactly what was happening. But they were having a conversation, and it was pretty much at the beginning, it was the 45-year-old and the 31-year-old kind of going at it. And he's just saying, 31-year-old talking to the 45-year-old, you older generation, you OG. And I know you tired because I'm tired. I've been tired, so I know you tired. And, the 45-year-old, he all worked up. He yeah, man, that's why I just want to burn this mug down. You know what I'm saying? Because like I'm fed up. I'm fed up. And the 31-year, he's just trying to calm everyone down. He's like, yeah. But like, is that the answer though?
Right.
At the end of the day, is that really going to solve anything?
Not at all.
So I feel like we just have to keep that in perspective of what we're doing. And like Matthew said, it's just being privy and knowing like what we're actually doing instead of reacting, being proactive.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate these esteemed gentlemen coming on, and we're going
to
wrap it up with a prayer. And I'm going to ask Brother Matthew to close us out with the Lord's Prayer.
Our Father,
which
art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done. In earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debt, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Appreciate it. I almost blew up the spot.